Hey guys, it's Turek, and today I'm going to be doing a review of chapter 1114 of One Piece. This is the raw version that came out. I'm recording this on Saturday, May 11th. I think it came out 2 days ago. Funny enough, I checked that morning and I thought, oh, the chapter didn't come out, and then I started binging watching One Piece, the Dressrosa arc that day, and I didn't check again. And then I saw Tekking had uploaded a review that evening, and I was like, shit, it did come out. I would have rather. I like doing it the day it comes out and get it done because my weekends are usually very busy. Yesterday was just too busy for me to get a chapter out. I was thinking about doing it in the evening, but by the time my day was done with my errands and doing some other chores around the house, I was just pooped. So I just did not get to it. And so this is another good one. Oda is not failing. Unfortunately, we got to wait another week now because I think this one will have a break. And now we get in this one the beginning of Vegapunk's message. He still leaves us. Oda still leaves us with a cliffhanger, but we'll get to that. In the last chapter, we got right to the point where Oda was just about to get to his message, and we start seeing other people around the world getting ready to listen. We saw some of our friends like shoot, what's Usopp's girlfriend's name? Her name's Miss. And I saw Krogus, and we saw some other people, and the place where Vegapunk grew up. Yeah, it was called Baltimore. So we saw a bunch of that stuff happening, and obviously the one Vegapunk, not Vegapunk. I'll see if I can remember the names this time. Mars, I think it is. He is up there searching around, trying to destroy the snail, the transponder snail. Him and York are working together. York's trying to figure out where it might be. She's trying to think like him. And she's still intent. She's still our enemy, unfortunately, and is intent upon stopping Vegapunk and being the last Vegapunk. So she's just pissing me off. I keep forgetting she's there sometimes. But then they show her, and I'm like, God damn you. And she so she's there doing that while Luffy, Dory, and Bragi are still dealing with Top Man and Shepherd, and then Ethan has caught up to where Bonnie is, but Sanji and the others are fighting back against him, so they're holding their own. They took out the vice admirals previously, some of them that arrived, and and then Saturn is coming up there to try to help Mars. And he encountered Nami and Robin and the others, and they were fighting him off because he's trying to kill Robin, take her out. And so we're about there. I think that's about everything. So, and then the ending of the chapter ended with Vegapunk pointing out that the waters are sinking into the sea. The water sinking. Soon the whole world will sink into the sea. Now, I just thought about something with this morning. The only thing I have on a theory with that is like everyone was pointing out, like, well, maybe this is what Enies Lobby was all about. It's a big hole in the earth, and actually that's something there too. So that part is in that's in the first half of the more Grand Line, and now Leloucia has a hole in one half. I can't. The camera. I got the camera now zoomed in. So Leloucia is on. It's not gonna quite work. You got Enies Lobby on this one side of the world, and Leloucia might be somewhere on this side. I was just thinking this morning: is the water like gonna go in and like change? Is it like? It almost to me sounds like when they would be losing water. And my other thought this morning, actually, my first one was that what if the water just moves from one half of the earth to the other? Because you got the red line circling the earth, and so each side has two blues, which are on one side, and they're only divided by the calm belt. So you got the calm belt, and then so what if water? I'm in the Grand Line, and the calm belts are on the Grand Line, yeah. So what if water from one end to the other is like just transferring? I don't know. It says I'm trying to figure out the logistics of this, and I can't figure it out. but maybe he'll figure out. We'll get more on that in the next chapter. We don't get a whole lot in this chapter. We do get another interesting tidbit here at the end. But let's see. So let's get into that. Right there. So this chapter title is called "The Wings of Icarus," and so this reference, I think, I was gonna go. Yeah. This is referencing a Greek mythology. Icarus was the son of Daedalus, a great inventor in the ancient Greek mythology, who I think he's the one who built the labyrinth for I forget the king's name now. And this is where the Minotaur was in there, which eventually was killed by Theseus. But Daedalus and Icarus were trapped. Were they trapped in the maze themselves? Let me pull that up again. I just remember the bit where Daedalus and Icarus escaped from wherever imprisonment they were in by creating wings, but it was connected to them by wax or was made of wax or something. And Icarus kept flying glued close to the sun to see how high he could go, and the wings fell off of him because they're made of wax and they melted, and then he fell to his death. And that has become a slang, not slang term, slang, whatever term, a metaphor now, a metaphor that's often used, meaning like when you fly too close to the sun, where you're getting too close to something and you'll be killed by trying to achieve knowledge. In this case, achieve knowledge is what Vegapunk is saying. He flew too close to the sun by seeking out this knowledge revolving around the Void Century in the ancient kingdom. It's funny he's calling himself Icarus because Icarus is a son of a great inventor, and he's a great inventor, but he's referencing himself. Maybe Icarus was supposed to be brilliant as well. And anyways, I just thought that was funny that this myth story involves another character who's a genius. So anyways, this beginning of this chapter, we start going around to other so I was just looking up locations because I want to get a list of locations I show that I can't quite remember where they are. You start going around again in the beginning of this chapter, right after Vegapunk said made a statement about the world, the island sinking into the sea. Also, I'm wondering, I have another quick theory on that. Like, does that mean maybe Mother Earth, the Mother Sea, is so angry with all these devil fruit users that she's going to sink the world? That was one of my thoughts. So first we go to Navy HQ, and we see a bunch of people in that one room. Is that supposed to be I was thinking it's that room where they usually meet to a bunch of other officers convene and they learn about new bounties and whatnot. And we see that out of these officers, I noticed we have that one. I don't have her name. I forgot to look her up. She's the one that tried to pursue the Straw Hats at the end of Alabasta. She's close friends with Smoker. We see her there, and these other people are all like in flabbergasted at what Vegapunk is saying, and and they're all like, they're all saying like, is he off his rocker? Does he know what he's talking about? Is his genius finally losing it? We switched to Kainu with that in the next panel briefly too. He's like, he doesn't say anything, but he's like contemplating this apparently, and I'm wondering if he knows anything about this to some extent, like because we know the admirals and fleet admiral and that those higher ups learn lots of things that they keep secret from the population, but who knows with him right now. Then we switch to Mocktown, that location on the location on Jaya there. I think that's the town where the Straw Hats were with when they met Bellamy, right? I know it's in Jaya. Yeah. And so they're all just laughing at Vegapunk. They think he's gone off his rocker, basically, too. They're just laughing their ass off at him, unlike the Marines at Navy HQ are just jaws to the floor. Then we switch to Water 7, where we see, what's his name, Polly? I think it was Polly, right? And then the one who was head of the one company. Yeah, Polly. We see Polly there. And he's like saying, I'd believe Vegapunk if he was talking about our city sinking because they're a floating, this giant floating city. That inhabits the entire length of the island. That's one thing too I noticed. I was thinking about this with Water 7 and compared to like Dressrosa. Dressrosa is like basically one giant city too, but they have these huge like boulders coming around their island that probably protects them from like certain pretty well against storms. And I was thinking that Water 7 probably should be building some kind of artificial land around themselves, their city, to protect themselves from those giant storms they had. I forget the name of them, but they had those big storms coming. They had a big one that came through right as the Straw Hats were trying to prepare to pursue Robin. um, so they have problems with the potential sinking. And then also Water 7 is a reference to Venice because it's built on like swampland like stuff, so it's sinking slowly into the ground. So Polly's pointing out, like, yeah, I could believe if it was our city when we have to deal with these big tsunamis or tidal waves, but it's going to take a lot more than that to sink the whole world. So how is this going to happen? Then we switch to Impel Down, and we see our friend Doflamingo. So apparently that assassin that he mentioned is supposed to be coming after him still hasn't come yet. And that's part of the reason I'm rewatching Dressrosa. I'm planning on a video lately. Oh, I already mentioned that before. I'm postponing it because I was waiting to learn more about other events. But I want to do a video about Dressrosa. I mean, Doflamingo, and about what knowledge he knows. But and so there must be some snails there somewhere because uh, Doflamingo's hearing the message and he's laughing his ass off. And he's there with Magellan actually. Magellan's like checking in on him, or maybe on him, and he says to Magellan, "Oh, isn't your job to protect us? How are you gonna do this if our whole prison compound gets compromised by sinking into the sea? Because they're built into a sea into the sea bed." So that's something too I was actually thinking because sometimes we see areas of Grand Line are deep, very deep, but apparently the way that it shows Impound Down, it's probably only like few hundred feet at least, maybe more in height. So they must have found the perfect like shallow area near that little tide they created with Ennie's lobby and the other place that to like sit there. Yeah, yeah, that's right, because it's sitting there. That's weird too, because then you got Ennie's lobby over nearby, and it's got the sinking water. Oh man, Oda's doing so well with this geography stuff. It just really gets you thinking. So yeah, Doflamingo. It's just that's the thing that I was about to finish. Sorry, Impel Down is has only a small area at the surface. I forget how high it was, 50 feet, 100 feet maybe of it, of its height above the ground. So if the water starts going up higher, this is gonna be one of the first places to be in trouble. Uh, uh, that's right. So Doflamingo makes this count. First, Magellan actually says, "You're right. You do have a point, though, Doflamingo. Unfortunately, we just had the water go up 1 meter recently. This is gonna be a problem. How many meters would it take for the whole world to be covered?" And Doflamingo seems to know some of this stuff already, as he points out, urban areas would be screwed if the water level just rose another 5 meters. So meters like 39 inches, right? So yeah, 3 feet. I'm more used to the imperial system. So 5 meters, 5 times 3 is I can't do math. Isn't 5 times 3? Excuse me a second. I can't do meters. No. So 5 meters, yeah, it would be over 16 feet. So an additional 16 and a half feet or so of water, yeah. of water level increasing. Okay. Now I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. For some reason, I was thinking it was higher. Uh, and then and Doflamingo ends this the point we see between him and Magellan by saying, "Oh, we could always go somewhere high up." And the way he's saying that, I think he's implying like the top of the red line, which is what I saw some people talking about. With like that's what like is that going to be the last safe place? It was Teching right who mentioned that's probably why it seems that's maybe the celestial dragons in the beginning had a forethought that something like this was going to happen, and that's why they partially why they built Marijua at the top of the red line. It is 10,000 meters up, which is what? Let's do some math again. I don't know, 10,000 meters. 32,000 feet. Okay, and that's how many miles would that be? Oh God, what is that? I don't know. Anyways, I'll do some of the math stuff later. Um, so we switch over to uh, the Fishman Island, and we see Shirahoshi and her father and the others talking about it. Like, could this really happen? And I'm surprised not just saying, whatever, we'll be fine. But anyways, once the king just mentions, seems a little outlandish. And I'm wondering if any of them starting to think yet, I wonder if that's why there's a giant boat that's the size of our island nearby to help save some humans. Uh, so then we switch back to Egghead Island, and we see uh, uh, we see the marine ships, and we see people saying like, this is just crazy, he must have lost his mind. And then others are saying, but he's the most brilliant person in the world, maybe he's saying that, telling the truth. Then we go to Vice Admiral, I think that's Vice Admiral Hound. Right, I know I had his picture up here before. I'm pretty sure that's Hound. Yeah, I got his picture from the other one. He's yelling now, so it's kind of hard to tell for sure. And he's saying it doesn't matter if it's true. This is gonna cause mass panic. Enough with the lies, Vegapunk. So he's thinking about the collateral damage this will cause too, or the mass not protest. I can't think of the right exact term. But anyways, yes, he's thinking this about that part of the damage control they'll be having to do after this. Like this is just he should be that Vegapunk should be more careful with his words. So now we switch back to the let me try to get something here. See, we switch to the Gorosei here, and they're like freaking out now because they're worried about more this stuff. And at this point, they're looking. Ethan especially is looking because we see his face. We see him and Saturn's face only, and the other three are in their animal form still. So the faces are hard to quite read. And Saturn doesn't. His face it still looks like he's like all like he's in that his heightened state where he's very animalistic right now. But from Ethan's face alone is enough to show that they are pissed that this is getting out there. But at the same time, it seems to me that they're still hoping to stop some of this because they start communicating to each other, and it doesn't say which one exactly says it, but they're like eradicate everything around us, all the life forms, because they can't pinpoint where it is, because they want to make sure they stop the rest of this from happening. So that's something too I had to think about. I keep forgetting the Denden Mushis are living beings, and with observation hockey, it's possible to detect living beings nearby you. I think Kobe's very good at that, and Viola is very good at that. Viola. So these guys too are good at it, and but they can't pinpoint the snail from the rest of everyone else around, especially with all their marines surrounding the area. It's probably confusing their sensory perception to like pinpoint exactly where this thing is. So they're just like, okay, we just got to destroy everything around us. But the funny thing is that there are so many marines there. It's like, how are you gonna? You can't just kill the marine. Well, they could just erase the island more, I guess. The marines are probably all evacuated anyways. But I was thinking a moment, I think I just killed the other marines there, but not the ones on the ship probably. And so then we switch to York. This is where York shows up briefly, and she's running around as the thing's going on, and she's looking. for the stuff still. She's carrying around this bazooka thing with her, and she's just yelling to herself, "Damn it! This Stella's really gonna spill the beans on everything." So she's hoping, to quickly stop this as well. She's looking around the main lab still, hoping that the broadcast nail is there. I'm hoping that he hasn't put it there. I'm still thinking if one of the better ways to do this would be to have some kind of special buoy ship thing off the edge of the island somewhere that no one would notice somehow. Or maybe it's floating. He had those floating cloud things. Could he have something floating in the air a mile away, maybe? Something nearby that would be hard to detect. I'm hoping it's not in the lab anyway. So, because she's looking around and she could find it any moment if she gets lucky. Uh, um, let's see now. Did I miss anything else? Anyways, what the heck? Okay. So, and the way she says this, York says like, and he can spill the beans and everything. It implies that she probably knows some of this knowledge too, because he must have uploaded some of it to uh, the Vegapunk the punk records. But and no, of course she doesn't want to. She doesn't care about this stuff in the way that he does, because she just wants to work with, be part of the dragons and live a life of luxury. But anyways, we don't see any more of her now. And now we go back to some of Vegapunk's message, and this part confused me a little bit. We'll discuss it after this. He as I read this, he's like, please give me a moment as I show you some data I have that's going to show a prediction I have that a few days from now, as I record this, an exceptionally vicious earthquake will rock the whole world. So he's implying, I believe, the what happened with Lucia. So somehow he and this, I was thinking from, well, of course you might know about it. You know about the mother flame that you gave to um, the Gorosei. This makes me think. I was thinking like, okay, well, won't you know about that machine? I wonder if that machine they're still using is not it's something he doesn't know about. He just has, because we're going to see the mother flame here. It's the power source thing, the power plant. So the machine itself really isn't the mother flame, as I understand, if I'm what I'm thinking. And so he's predicting that something would happen. Somehow he knew it was going to happen. I don't get what kind of equipment he would use for this. Like, this isn't quite the same as I would think of it as like weather equipment. But this catches everyone's attention. Like, hey, how would he know that? And he's using this, to like give credence to what else he's about to say. And then we switch to, as we do this, we're gonna keep getting other characters, and we switch to Smoothie and Bun. What's his name? The Charlotte siblings. What's that one? What's that one guy? Montdor and Smoothie, and they're in surprise too. And Smoothie comments like, "Wait a minute, he's talking about the earthquake we just had today. Didn't he die after this record? Wait, how did she say that? Didn't he die after this recording?" Yeah, so she's like surprised that he would be able to figure that out. My brain's everywhere today. Uh, and so as we switch next to another island, and his voiceover says, "Following this calamity, I can see that sea levels will likely raise to just over 1 meter, and a number of islands will become uninhabitable for people. And naturally, many places like beaches and that will become submerged. And as he says that, we see another island that is unnamed, and people living in lifeboats as you can see that the water has increased quite a bit. Looks like enough to cover first floors of one of these buildings in this one island. And then he comments further, like, if this didn't come to pass, you can disregard the rest of this message then. And then he does that. We get to see that guy from Long Ring, what's his name? Tugent, from Long Ring Longland, briefly listening. And so he's walking around in stilts. Okay, so they must have some flooding there, because I know that place has some kind of flooding problems, and that's like how the people traverse because that land's a big circle with these high points and low points, and everyone traverses across it. These nomadic people, and we met in Tonjet, and he got left behind from his tribe, I think. And so after that, next we switch to the pirate island, full of light, and we see Aokiji a moment, uh, and he's listening to the message, and like he's just kind of like sitting there, kind of thinking. But there's another pirate behind him, going like, "Oh my God, he was right on that one," meaning Vegapunk. How did he figure this out? And then so now Vegapunk's message continue. Well, assuming that these things will come to pass, I need you to pay heed to the rest of my message then. Okay, so he does understand it. So he says this what just happened, this phenomenon cannot strictly speaking be considered a natural phenomenon. So he does have a way of like figuring out. I don't know. I'm just look. I like to understand like equipment and how it can sense stuff. I'm trying to think of how he would know that something like that would happen when it's not a natural phenomenon. Uh, so, anyways, first we go. Next we go to back to Egghead here, and we see Saturn is becoming extremely enraged, and he's fighting still with the Straw Hats here, and even Lilith there is helping at this point, and they're doing a good job too. Who is that there? That's gotta be Nami. Nami's there. Lilith, Robin. Robin's still staying back with Chopper protecting her, and the others are still trying to fight at him. But Saturn, upon hearing how this message is progressing, he just like throws the others off of him, and he leaves because he's trying to. They need to. This is the part. Let's see. He's going toward a mother flame here. At this point, he leaves them. He's decided that it's not worth going after Robin right now. We have to stop this message first, and he runs off from there and goes toward the lab. We see him heading right to the lab here, and that's happening. Vegapunk's going on. Wait, where is it? And now he starts talking a bit about like, oh, I always cheat. I always wanted to my goals, my yeah, I'm trying to paraphrase it instead of reading it verbatim. All my years I've been working, he's saying, everything I've tried to create has been for peace and prosperity. But that that's right. So this proved to be part of my the first sin I did, because I was fixated on trying to find an eternal power source. So this goes back to what Lilith said to the other Straw Hats when they first arrived. Like they were trying to figure out how to create great resources that would power the whole world. And then Vegapunk proclaimed this dream to Luffy and the other Straw Hats when he met them. And this is where he talks about like, I was so hell bent on this that I flew too close to the sun. So he uses the metaphor here. So the Icarus metaphor is prevalent in the is that the right word, in the One Piece world. And as he's doing that, we switch to Saturn, who comes into the lab, transforms back, and he's in front of the Mother Flame here. And we see it's a giant reactor-looking thing with all kinds of big arms, not arms, but like maybe tubes or stuff connected to it. And there's in the center of this face of it is almost looks like it's a door, but there's a glass panel, and you see a flame thing there, kind of like floating in some kind of liquid. And the thing I'm confused most about this part of the chapter is not Vegapunk, Saturn transforms into his human form, and he begins smashing some of the control stuff here. So I'm trying to figure out, are they trying to? I thought he was gonna like cause it to react so it blows up everything. And the others, the others are saying, no, we must preserve the contents of that room. Did you find it yet? I'm kind of confused by that bit. Like, what's he trying to do there? I'll have to see what other people say in that one. Okay, that's so stupid. I was like, why is Saturn trying to destroy the Mother Flame? He's just like must be some Denden mushies in there, and he's just going around smashing them in that part of the lab. He's like just helping destroy the other life forms, as they said earlier. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So They want to preserve the contents of that room, as I said, but then he's just going in there looking for other life forms, as the other ones were saying. Let's find everything around here in the lab, destroy them all. So that's right, because a lot of the they have some den mushies in there throughout the place that were um cameras. That's right, and then back when York locked them in there, Shaka saw someone else going on destroying some of them at that point, so that I always wondered who that was, like maybe Caribou or someone working with, now we know York, to, you know, lock the place down and keep them up locked up tight until the Marines got there. So where am I next? Also, this is interesting. I was saying, like, yeah, that this is some kind of liquid, because this mother flame is just sitting there in the middle of it, and I'm wondering if this liquid is whatever is sustaining the mother flame. Like, it's so, like, fire, you usually have to put, like, have wood or some other kind of flammable material. You start it up with, like, you use like a match, or you can, like, a flintstone or something, and you can often use something like gasoline or something to ignite it faster. I wonder if this liquid is what is sustaining the mother flame. It's feeding off of whatever's around that liquid is around it. That's my theory on that, anyways. And then Vegapunks is like, but I'm getting ahead of myself now and talking about that. First, to understand what's going on, we have to go back. Is that how he says it? Yeah. Yeah, we have to go back to what happened 900 years ago. And he's got to go into like the void century stuff. So while that's happening, though, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit too with where he says that. We go, for the first time in a few chapters, we see the Iron Giant robot again, and it's still marching across the island, and we don't know its destination yet. And now some of the Marine ships are focusing their fire upon that, and we can hear them commenting to each other, oh, it's no use. We can't stop it. So we leave that for a moment. Now we go back to the Dory, Bragi, and Luffy, and they're trying to still get away from Top Man here, we see, pursuing them, and there's like flames all around them. So I don't know if that's like something he's producing, or if that's because of the Buster call, but like, yeah, we gotta get out of here. We'll be burned to a crisp, you know, because this fire is getting more intense. And at this point, Luffy's also going back into Gear 5th, and he's floating along with them, but he's just laughing his ass off again. He's in his crazy mode. Oh, 1 second. Oh, I was just pulling up another name of another character that's going to show up here. So yeah, now we switch to Marijois, and this is where Vegapunks talk about, we must address and talk, I must talk to you a little bit about events that happened between 9 and 800 years ago. A century-long period that most of us think is a blank part of history. And as we're doing that, we see Emu briefly, and he's kind of thinking about it, and it doesn't show any emotion. It's just a black silhouette of the person, and they're just dead. This same ... we saw with Akainu. So we can't tell if the person is frustrated or like thinking about those events, like, wow, I haven't thought about that in a long time. But we switch to the Celestial Dragons in the city, watching on a big screen, and you can tell they're pissed. So many of them must understand what the events happened years ago, or some aspect of it, and they're all frustrated. Like, some of them are saying, like, what the hell are those Marines doing? Shut this transmission off already. And then some of them are even like, oh, he's dead? Well, bring his body here. We're gonna like flay it and destroy it, everything, to make him suffer even though he's dead, for what he's saying here and ruining the good life we're having. And while that's happening, actually, in some way it looks like some don't, because I was looking up this character name. We see, I think its name is that Saint Charla, or is that, I think it's Saint Charla, or that we saw, who tried to kill what's our friend, that mermaid friend? I forget her name right now. She's talking. She looks very concerned by this. Like, wait, what's going on? What's the Void Century? And Vegapunk's going on. It's been fittingly that period of time I aforementioned is known as the Void Century, and all information about it's been snuffed out. But I have been able to. I think he's saying, like, how do you say that? There's some scraps and echoes of it that we can find, especially through the poneglyphs. and he talks about those things we've been finding all over the world. They contain some news information on that. And while he's saying that, we see what's his name? Jaguar, Vice Admiral Jaguar, sitting out in the middle of the forest on Elbath, presumably. So this is the first time we've seen him not in silhouette, but we don't see his face still. So I'm presuming it's because he might have some facial damage from skin damage from Aokiji freezing him over 22 years ago. But he looks okay otherwise, because they showed him last time being all bandaged up in a flashback when Vegapunk went to Elbath. But he's sitting there laughing about this, because he knows some of this information as well. And he's like thinking about, oh, this is going to be good when the world learns some of this. Wait, what's happening? Come on. There it is. And then we switch to what's there now? I'm just trying to pull up some of the other people here. We also switch to Orange Town as this is continuing, and we get to see the mayor Boodle, and along with Choo Choo the dog, and they're sitting there listening. And there's a little girl there, and I don't remember if she was in the Orange Town arc. And that little girl's like reading, holding out a book as they're listening to us, and they're like, she's talking about the part that they would know. It's like, oh, did you know that there was how'd she say? Did you know that way back when the 20 Kings teamed up to create the world? Oh, yeah. So she's trying to say, anyways, oh, I bet that old man on the radio is talking about that period of time up to their point when the world government was created. And Boodle just like, oh, who can say? And what do you think, Choo Choo? And the little dog's just sitting there in front of him, listening along, and he just gives a little woof. And he's just like, whatever, just scratch my ears, probably. Wait a minute now. So how does Vegapunk go on? Okay, no, that's to say it. So Vegapunk was saying, yeah, the poneglyphs are the only clues we have, and they can, once we decode it, they can provide what we need to know. And then Vegapunk goes on to point out, no, first he goes, despite the fact that the poneglyphs can provide information about what we could learn to help us learn what happened in that void, and in the void century, the government made it taboo. And this is where he says, my second sin was now to try to attempt to figure out what this information on it, despite the government's making it a criminal offense to do so. And then he goes on to point out, I was able to start deciphering because I gained several documents that allowed me to decipher them. And while this is happening, we go back briefly to the Straw Hats recovering after Saturn left them. Wait, who is that? Oh, that's Brooke. Okay. Yeah, that's right. And then while they're doing that, Brooke, they're just sitting there listening. I think they're just recovering now, catching their breath, and then they're listening to Vegapunk's message. And Nami and Robin are looking at each other, and they're probably both thinking about Ohara as Vegapunk is saying this about the documents he has. And while that's happening, we see Brooke looking up, and he's calling to Zoro and Jinbei, so they must be getting close there. We never actually see them, though. Let's see. So Vegapunk says something about, yeah, I pursued this research as far as possible, and I have no regrets about what I did. And then, while that's happening, he's talking, so we stop for a second with that part, and we see that the Straw Hats see something happening next to them, where clouds start growing out in front of them. And they're all looking at it like, wait, what's going on? So this is the Straw Hats by the Sunny still, Nami and Robin and the others. And then they realize this is Edison's doing, and we see him briefly. So he went back down to somewhere in the lab, or somewhere else below. No, he must have went down below. That's right, because he went through the labophase shield. He went down below where the cloud thing that's growing up to hold up the labophase, and he's making it stretch out so that they'll be able to get across there and then get far enough, to escape where the Buster called the Marine ships are surrounding it, the perimeter they're creating, as it were. So so they figured out. So Brooks says, yeah, Brooks the one who says like, oh, this must have been what Edison was doing, and then Sanji, not Sanji, it's Usopp's like, you're right. If we can get the clouds further out, well, oh, I see what the problem is. Okay, so that's part of the problem. It's not just about the perimeter of the marine ships. The lava phase doesn't come out all the way to the edge of the island. So if they dropped off right there, I think that's just still worried. I know they got the coup de burst though. I thought they could just so flying over. Usopp's saying that now they'll be able to land in the ocean, but I'm thinking they should still. I thought they should. Maybe that'd be too dangerous. Maybe that's why. It sounds like the way they're. This is I'm understanding this now. They're gonna just drop the Sunny straight down, and once they're in the water, they'll just coup de burst. They're probably away from the marine perimeter. And so we briefly see Edison, and he's in the machine room, and he's all damaged up, and he's like, "Oh, I did my part. You straw hats better do yours and not get caught." Poor little guy, and thank goodness he's doing such good work to help us. So, where was I here? Now, we go back to Vegapunk's message, and then here we're near the end of the chapter, and he's like, even with all this research I did and my understanding of the poneglyphs, I was only able to find a small fragment of information about what happened in those 100 years. And he says, since I only have that much information, I'm only going to tell you what I actually know. And as that's happening, we switch back to Luffy and Dorian Bragi, and he's still attempting to stall or even damage the top man. And we see Bragi. Is it Bragi? The one with the big guy, with the bigger one with the beard. I forget which one. I think that's Bragi. And he's saying to Luffy, "No, it's enough. It's not worth it. Let's just get out of here." And then the Vegapunk's thing starts with, we begin this story with the Star, the main character who's important to where all this began, and it was born 900 years ago in this advanced kingdom. And while it's happening, briefly I'll explain. Luffy is doing his Gear 5th, and he unleashes kind of like a Gear 3rd style punch again, right into the nose of Top Man, to try and stall him. And he's saying, "Oh, this time I'll make sure it works on you." And but he's still getting damaged this time by Top Man's attack. I think Top Man must be producing the fire somehow. And it shows his next in a small panel. His hand is all damaged up, like you saw when he tried his Gear 3rd when he wasn't in his Waken form. He had done it and hurt himself. And the same thing's happening now. He's like on fire from the attack. And the Dorian Bragi like, "Okay, just stop. You're making us laugh at your antics." But now this is the last panels here. We finish Vegapunk's thing. And then he says this person was just like the legendary sun god Nika from the fables of Elbaf, and he fought with a stretchy and elastic body, and people called him Joy Boy. And he was the first man to take to the seas and be called a pirate. So that's the end of the chapter. And so I have some thoughts on this part here. I'm wondering here what this has to do with. So there's a couple things. My first thoughts, I got a lot of little thoughts here, and I'm going to try and put some together here. See, when I listen to these things, it often helps me to just talk about it, and then I start constructing more theories in it. This makes me think, because they say Joy Boy was born in the ancient kingdom, that he must have been kind of a rebel among the people there. He left the place and went out to sea and was labeled a pirate. Or maybe if he went out to sea, he started causing problems on other kingdoms and was labeled a pirate. Also, to be the first pirate, I severely doubt there'd be that much peace even back then to say there was no piracy. Like, we've always had piracy in our world. I wonder if that just means like he was the first criminal from that kingdom or something, or he was like some kind of outlaw. So like I was trying to think of that in reference to like how in I was watching one western. There's that one western from the late '80s, and it had like a slew of young actors like Charlie Sheen and some other people, and they were these young men who are living together and like they're like orphans who are growing up under I forget what happens, but they're like foster parent dies and they have a big scuffle with the law nearby, and they get labeled outlaws for misunderstandings or or dealing with these corrupt law enforcement in that movie, and then they're being chased throughout like the rest of the movie. I'm thinking this is along Joy Boy's events are along those lines. But my next point then is if Joy Boy went out to sea from this advanced kingdom. So the thoughts I've had on Joy Boy before was that once the war broke out between the ancient kingdom and the other kingdoms, Joy Boy may have been like one of the lead for the ancient kingdom, their lead generals, so to speak, to like in conducting a war and trying to defend the ancient kingdom, or some kind of hero who was doing covert stuff instead. This is now leading me to think that Joy Boy may have instigated the war somehow, not on purpose, more like something like what Luffy would do. He would be pissed off at someone like a celestial dragon. He'd punch the wrong person in the face, and back in other countries and like here too, ancient times, if you punch someone out, like someone's gonna want to take it to go after you and make it personal. Think like the Iliad, where that prince, what's his name, Paris, he kidnaps Helen of Troy, which wasn't of Troy, she was the wife to a Spartan king, I think. He kidnaps that, whisks her away. He doesn't really kidnap. They were lovers by this point, because he was visiting the Sparta, and she didn't like her husband because he was this older brash asshole. I'm thinking mostly. I didn't read all the Iliad. I'm thinking of that Troy movie, which wasn't that good, but it had the basics down. But anyways, where was I going with that? That was all it took to start a war. The Sparta king got an alliance formed up, and they went to Troy to try and get his wife back, and there was a 10-year siege, and Troy was destroyed in the end. And so I'm just thinking it could be something like that, where Joy Boy caused the problem. I wonder if that had anything to do with the princess Shirahoshi's ancestor back then. Maybe he was trying to. Oh, there you go. What if like mermaids were being kidnapped back then, and someone tried to kidnap Shirahoshi's ancestor, who also, I think they said she was one who had the power of Poseidon back then. The Poseidon in this power being to control sea kings. And I could see that being something. She got kidnapped, Shirahoshi's ancestor, and he saved her, but it started a war because one of those other kingdoms wanted to retaliate, and they went after his home, which would probably be the ancient kingdom, as they call it. So there's stuff like that here to break down like that. What was the other thing? We still see Zoro. Sorry, yeah. So that's about the end of my stuff there. So I can think of right now. So there's definitely something there. So I'm just now the question is too, where does that lead us to with the world sinking? Who's gonna be doing that? Does this have something to do with Emu doing it? I don't know. I just got so much there to think about with that. So that was the end of the chapter. Well, I already did that. So question 2 with Doflamingo. I wonder how much of this Doflamingo knows, because we know he knows something about the secret treasure of secret or sacred. They call this. He called it a secret treasure, because he thought he had, with that knowledge, if he brought that knowledge to the forefront, and if he had that, and he acted almost like it could be used as a weapon to usurp power from. Presumably, he might know of Emu, but I'm still not sure. And he wanted to have the life immortality surgery to what do you call it? Make himself invincible, so that he could, and then two, the way. So it looks like with Doflamingo too, he wanted to have like be king of the pirates and then king of the world. So he wanted to take all the crowns basically, and he knew he had the knowledge to go to usurp power from the uh, emu or somehow. Maybe he didn't even know about emu. Maybe he thought he could still use it though against Gorosei. And then I was thinking with him knowing heaven, if he had got the immortality surgery, he was just gonna defeat all the lesser pirates and outlast Big Mom and Kaido and the others, Yonko that he knew he can't outright defeat, and then eventually he could just take over the world. That's kind of the gist of what I was thinking about with Doflamingo. But now I'm wondering if he understood about this as well. Like, did he think, oh, I can wait for the world to flood as well. That's it. Yeah, he can wait for the world to start flooding. He might know something about this event happening. He might know what Vegapunk also just found out, also knows and just found out. And like, okay, I'll be able to. I know this is gonna happen somehow. Hopefully now Vegapunk will explain it to us, and we can like surmise more of what Vegapunk, what Doflamingo might know about this in the next chapter. But it's very interesting too now to see what this mother flame thing is. Now it's still, again, like I said earlier, what does that mean about that machine? I feel like Vegapunk does not know about that machine that you are using the mother flame on, or maybe he didn't understand how it could be. Maybe he did make it. There's something else. Maybe he made that machine, but he thought it could be used to go around to other. That's it, because he's always talking about unlimited energy. What if that thing was designed by Vegapunk to be used as a method to transport the unlimited energy of the mother flame to other islands to get like refueling tanks? Say you have like a big propane tank, because a lot of people where I live here have giant propane tanks. Then and those things have to be refueled. You don't want to. I don't know if they get picked up. I would imagine because I had like a thing like that for my furnace as a kid. That a big truck would come and they bring out big hose and refuel the thing for you. I'm thinking now that machine that we saw destroy Lulusia was perhaps, if Vegapunk knows about it, was something he designed designed and made to transport the mother flame energy. But now the Gorosei have repurposed it. Maybe they have other scientists at hand. Like I said, they might. I was saying earlier time, if they got rid of all the Vegapunks, they must have someone in the wings. They must have someone like that who could, if my theory here is correct, that could have repurposed the machine to become a weapon. Kind of like what Frankie kind of can do. Frankie likes to create things for good. He made the Sunny, he made it very effective and indestructible and stuff. But he can make laser beams also. He has offensive weapons to defend himself and fight back because he knows that it's a dangerous world. So he's not always making things that are gonna benefit mankind. He knows what it's like out there. And anyway, so I mean, someone else out there could have just like figured out how to change this machine that Vegapunk originally made just to transport stuff and say, hey, the girl could say, hey, can you repurpose this thing to be a weapon of destruction that can nuke islands in seconds? And someone else like, okay, sure, pay me 10 billion berries and I'll work for you guys for life or something. It'd be easy for Gorosei to probably get some people who are looking for money to work on something like that, So that's a theory that just came up now. So as for what else? So we don't see anything else. We didn't see anything in this chapter. What happened with Bonnie and the others? There, we see Ethan here briefly. So he doesn't look damaged much by Sanji's kick. He came after Bonnie to kill her because she has command of the pacifistas. And I mean, he took out the ones that are there or disabled them. But so that the others are presumably still there and going to be fighting with him in the next chapter or two. Bonnie, who's there? Bonnie, Frankie, Atlas, Sanji, and then we didn't see Shepard do anything in this one. Or Mars either. Mars was still flying around the lab. So him and Saturn are probably going to be working together here to try and destroy more Denden Mochis. Hopefully we can figure out what this message can be finished. I'm really concerned here. And then I'm still worried too about Punk Records. So anyways, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching.